Hey everyone, this is MTG Rat Girl, and today I'm actually going to start off with a peek behind the screen. A few months ago, I made a video after the very first round of Final Fantasy spoilers. I was very tempted to do a deck based on Tidus, Yuna's protector, because I'm such a big fan of proliferating, but I saw that most of the decks with him in the command zone were based on pumping creatures with +1/+1 counters, turning this unique and interesting Bant commander into an unnecessarily complex version of so many other mono-green counter-based commanders that are out there. Like these three, you've seen them. One of them is demolishing standard right now. Let's go mono green. Whoop whoop. And such and so on. So anyway, I thought that there's no way that the fine people at Wizards of the Coast are this uncreative with the rest of the set, right? This was before the precon lists were out. I thought, I'm gonna build a bad and quirky version of this deck just in time for a bunch of new and interesting card designs to come out, perhaps involving shield counters, keyword counters, or a type of counter that I didn't know was going to exist yet. I built an entire Tidus deck knowing that it was going to look like absolute garbage in the next few months. I was just positive of it, so I did this video based on Emmett Selk instead. But looking at the Tidus precon now, so, for any of you who see this cool and very interesting text box and want to use it for something other than +1 counters, we are going to play Blitzball the correct way, with teamwork. We're filling this deck with unique keywords that we can spread out to our whole team and win. Yes! That's how he does it, right? Tidus lets you move a counter between creatures on your team right before you declare attackers. He also says that anytime a teammate with a counter deals combat damage, you proliferate and draw a card. Yeah, whatever, card draw is fine, but proliferate? I fucking love that word! And since my favorite mechanic is bad, let me run it by you one more time. To proliferate, you choose any number of permanents or players with counters on them, and then you give each of them one more of each kind of counter. Again, if something or someone has more than one type of counter on them, they get an additional counter of each kind. This is relevant way more often than you would expect. New Capenna was a set that came out a while ago, but is doing a lot of heavy lifting for this deck list. It came out just after Ikoria, which is where keyword counters were introduced into the game for the first time. Okay, technically the Chimeras and Visions did it, but they weren't worded correctly and they're old and bad and you shouldn't play them. It used to be that if the designers wanted to give out a cool keyword effect, they would print cards that gave creatures a keyword for a turn or just for a combat phase. The new Capenna precon featuring Pierre the Pulverizer gave us plenty of new cards that gave out counters that would perpetually grant creatures flying, trample, things like that. This was also when shield counters were introduced to the game for the first time. As a side note, I remember that my standard deck on Arena for a little while was a bunch of Selesnya creatures that just gave out +1 counters and shield counters, and they pumped each other up until they aggroed into anything that you could put up, basically. It was really fun to win with a bunch of 1 and 2 drops. I love turning my cards sideways. We are going to use Tidus and a bunch of these keyword counters to build our own Audric at home, almost. Hopefully the keywords stick around longer and our creatures are able to get much bigger than Audric allows for. We can also use Tidus's Proliferate effect to keep your opponent's defenders tapped down, so your Blitzball crew can easily get in for the attack. With this stupid handsome jock protecting your creatures, there's nothing you can't do. So let's get into it and see how we can use teamwork to give all of our creatures every single keyword. Tidus can't actually help anyone who doesn't bring anything to the table themselves. This is because, spoiler for the game, by the way, he isn't real. Or he is real, but he's a dream or a spell or something, which explains why so many people think he's so dreamy. The point is, he needs other people to bring their own counters so that he can help multiply them. This is why Vivian, Nature's Advocate, Crystalline Giant, and Splendor Mare are some of the cards from Ikoria, the original keyword set, that make the cut for our list. Titanoth Rex was also very close to making it, but I wanted to have the option of playing it as a creature in the mid-game rather than cycling it every single time. Being in white and not black means that our reanimation effects only really hit things with mana value 3 or less. So if we cycled him, gave something a trample counter, he would be gone for good, and that just breaks my heart. And from the fabulous swingin' city of New Capenna, which sorta has Xanarkand vibes if you think about it, we have Pierre, the big rhino himself, along with Elspeth Resplendent and Denry Klin, editor-in-chief. This cat should help you tune the narrative to give your team vigilance, first strike, or just a little bit more raw power if you need it. Elspeth's tick up and her tick down abilities will give keyword counters, so I think it's definitely worth the relatively high price in our list, like dollar price point, that is, not just mana. Her ult is pretty flashy, but honestly, getting a random creature or a mana rock with a shield counter is way more in line with our game plan anyway. You shouldn't need to ult that often. Pierre is here basically as a win condition. You don't want to see this guy until you already have Tidus copying and redistributing counters, so your one teammate gets a huge boost from Pierre's attack trigger. Get in for that eject shot, Pierre. You kick that ball so hard it murders someone. Ole, 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 ole. Salvation Swan, Zephyr Singer, and Guide of Souls are all great ways to give our team an easier time getting past blockers. Once one teammate has flying, Tidus will be sure to lift your entire team up to their level. Salvation Swan is also a great way to protect a creature from targeted removal. You can blink it out of the way so those other dastardly summoners can't get at any of your precious teammates. Oh my god, they were teammates. Guide of Souls generates energy for us, which is a counter that stays on you, the player. This means that you can proliferate it every time that you connect, and hopefully use it for Emissary of Soulfire's ability too. Giving your entire board Exalted means that they will support each other even when you only send one creature in to attack. This can easily turn Tidus into a one-shot kill by getting him up to 20 power, or even less than that if you get a double strike counter on him. He is our star player after all, so he should be the one getting that ball, foot, into the opponent's goal, skull. Tidus does a decent job with making sure our team is all on the same page, but it does help to have some more effects to proliferate additional times or to spread the keywords around our side of the board a little bit easier. Inexorable Tide is like the ideal card for this. The Scars of Mirrodin version was sitting at $11 for a while, but since being reprinted for the Commander deck here, it's down to $2 or $3, depending on your game store. Woohoo! Let's go! Reprints! Alright. Exotic Pets, Avon Courier, and Laezel, someone who's played Baldur's Gate. Get at me about that. Laezel will make additional counters when your creatures get boosted. Exotic Pets feels like it was made for this deck, honestly. Making 2 unblockable little fish usually isn't that big of a deal, but once they have Double Strike, Vigilance, Shields, and 5 or more power, they start to look less like this and a little bit more like this. Metastatic Evangel and Flux Channeler proliferate when you cast creature or non-creature spells, respectively. We also run Grateful Apparition and Thrumming Bird as evasive little attackers that can make more counters for Tidus to give out every time you poke somebody for 1 or 2 damage. It's like you've got the 2 of them cheering for you too, right along Tidus. Whee! Woohoo! Wow! Yay! Yippee! Dreamtide Whale from Modern Horizons 3 is also a complete bulldozer in this deck list. Punishing your opponents for playing their game plan by making your creatures bigger and better is pretty good, but that Vanishing 2 ability usually keeps it in check somewhat. Not so as long as our commander sticks around. Tidus can proliferate those time counters every time something hits an opponent, so as long as you're hitting somebody, your whale sticks around, causing regular devastation to your opponents and the cities they live in. Every deck needs to draw as many cards as possible, obviously, but we get some fun pieces that take advantage of all of the types of counters that we get to play with. Goldberry from the Lord of the Rings set moves all kinds of counters onto herself just by tapping. Oh my god, there was a pigeon right on my windowsill. That freaking rocked. This is a good way to get her involved in combat on its own, but for 1 mana, she can also do Tidus's job and move any number of those keywords onto a creature of your choice. And you get to draw a card on top of it. She's the perfect complement to Tidus's fiery passion. What's not to love? Izuri, Stalker of Spheres, from this video over here, just rewards us for hitting people and proliferating. Plus, if you're really late in the game when you draw him, you could pay as he enters to proliferate twice and draw 2 more cards. Pretty cool. Owaka, Traveling Merchant, and Blitzball Stadium each take advantage of the fact that you will have more counters on your creatures than you know what to do with. Removing them for value with Owaka is good, but underwhelming, ultimately. Blitzball is what it's all about, baby!
Blitzball!
Every time I've fishbowled this list, I have a creature with 6 or more counters on them by turn 4 or 5. It's kinda nuts. If you can stick the Blitzball Stadium, you will turn every instance of combat damage into 3 or 6 cards pretty easily. Sanctuary Warden, again from New Capenna, hey, forget about it, we run this city, capiche? Would usually not be good enough at drawing cards to include here. However, when we get one type of counter on a critter, Tidus by himself will definitely make sure that you have way too many of that one type of counter. Removing these extraneous counters in exchange for a body and a card is a perfect way to leverage this quirky side effect of our commander. The rest of this section is creature-based draw that I am sure you have come to expect from me so far. We've got Recon Mission, which will draw once every time you get in, and so will Bident of Thassa and Kutzel. Running this kitty in the 99 is also great for any deck that is weak to creature removal, much like our list is. We are just all creatures, that's the win con. Big, stupid, green jocks, turn them sideways, hit people, win. Simple as. If you're already ahead, you can also activate the Bident to guarantee an Alpha Strike on your next turn. Pretty cool if you ask me. I cannot make it any more clear that I've never played these games, by the way. I learned about Final Fantasy to write this video. I asked 2 of my friends to info dump to me about Final Fantasy X. Fucking Universes Beyond is getting me. They're rotting my brain actively. Okay, we want our interaction to do 2 things. 1, make it so our creatures connect as much as possible, and 2, stop our opponents from board wiping us. Stun counters help a lot with number 1 because if Tidus is out, we can keep proliferating the counters to take creatures out of commission for good. Dreamdew Entrancer, Lodestone Needle, and Scroll of Isildur help with the plan of stunning the defending boards, and they also each give us some extra value as well. The cards from the Scroll and the Frog are good enough to justify them as like halfway removal or pseudo removal, and if you ever get the chance to flip the Lodestone over, you can make sure that you never miss your land drops by exploring every single turn. Disdainful Stroke and Negate are the cheapest and easiest ways to get around board wipes in basically any format right now. Ajani Fells the Godsire is a removal spell with a vigilance counter attached to it. By the way, if you ever need additional chapters from this or the scroll, you can choose to proliferate the lore counters with Tidus. It's kind of cool how you get to like go back a chapter every turn by removing a lore counter or going forward to like blow out a blocker and make a vigilant double striking creature on the same turn, because that's for sure a spell that's worth 5 mana on its own. Gift of the Viper is our most basic combat trick here, but leaving up 1 mana to guarantee a trade on board is great if you're ever behind. Kappa Tech Wrecker and Storm of Forms both reward us for having more counters on our team. The Storm can easily bounce 4 or 5 targets for 4 mana, taking away a problematic enchantment, or clearing the way for a game-winning attack. Tech Wrecker, on the other hand, can start sniping away all of your opponent's stuff that isn't good and fair creatures that are turning sideways. Once you start proliferating with this guy around, no Soul Ring is safe. Because we are just playing with a nice, fair soccer team of handsome lads, we have to prepare for the control-heavy matchups. We, much like Yuna and Tidus, are all about those summons. Like the way Magic cards were printed in the 90s. Not like the sagas or the Final Fantasy summons. Okay, I'm going to move on before I keep dating myself. Arwen, Mortal Queen, Bulwark Ox, Kindred Boon, and Contractual Safeguard are all pieces that give the team temporary indestructibility. That's kind of what a shield counter is, right? Just indestructible, like for one time. Slippery Bogbonder and Gilrain are pretty unique protection spells that come with their own keywords. Gilrain's ability lets you blink something out from under a removal spell and bring it back with a vigilance and a lifelink counter. Bog Bonder is like an expensive snakeskin veil, but the hexproof effect stays around a lot longer. This Enter the Battlefield effect will also act like a group hug from your existing creatures, since you can move extra counters that they may have onto whatever this slippery little fursuiter is protecting at the time. The rest of our protection is like white reanimation spells, which usually means they only work on smaller creatures with mana value 3 or less. Our deck isn't entirely built around this, but Tidus, our MVP, is conveniently just 1 pip from all 3 of our colors. Call a Surprise Witness, Luminous Broodmoth, and Season of the Burrow will each bring back 1 rowdy Blitzball hooligan and bring a keyword counter with it, usually flying. Season of the Bunnies can be a removal spell or a couple of chump blockers on top of resurrecting one of your teammates. Plus, it makes your entire team harder to kill again, once that indestructibility counter starts getting shared around. One trick that you can do with the Broodmoth is you can kind of perpetually bring back the same threatening creature as long as you make sure to use Tidus to keep removing its flying counter and spreading it to the rest of the team. This huge, ominous animal is really good at making sure your threats never really die. They just come back in different forms. Okay, sorry. I just got the weirdest deja vu. Sorry about that. As a side note, you're usually going to have too many of any one kind of counter on your team if your game plan is going decently, that is. There are exactly 2 cards that I can find which turn these extra useless keyword counters into something useful, namely a board of wide little creatures for you to attack with. Sporogenesis from way back in Urza's saga gives out fungus counters, which turn that creature into a snowballing saproling carrier the longer that it sticks around. This lets you choose a creature to de-incentivize your opponents from removing. If they ever do, you'll have a huge board of little plants to replace the thing that they killed. There is a surprising lack of green in this section, honestly. What's that about? Wait, am I really not even running Cultivate? What have I become? I guess my love of proliferating has outshined my love for getting more lands on the table somehow. I would play more spells here if the artifacts weren't so damn good when we proliferate their counters. It's not like Machina is actually responsible for anything dangerous, okay? Stop being a Luddite and a bigot. Ugh. The classics that we have here are Replicating Ring, Everflowing Chalice, and Astral Cornucopia. You just need to cast these for X=1 and then let Tidus build them up for the rest of the game. Aetheric Amplifier and Strixhaven Stadium are the rest of this package. They don't continue to generate more mana by themselves, but they are mana rocks that can become win conditions if left completely unchecked. The Amplifier should help you build Tidus into a game-winning attacker with 1 or 2 activations, and the Stadium will also let you get to 10 counters in no time if you keep using Tidus to proliferate it every time you get through. Your opponents will all have to team up on you and agree to keep swinging into you to avoid your very lopsided point counter generation. Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel, has definitely become a pet card for me in blue decks. Getting free spells from proliferating his chorus counters is just so much fun. As Foretold is an enchantment that lets you do something very similar, plus it will help you cast free counter spells during everybody's turn, not just yours. Okay, we've got green cards here. Holy shit. Okay, don't worry. Stop panicking, everybody. Oh, Rampant Growth. Oh, honey. I'm so happy to see you here. Oh, it's so beautiful. It fixes your mana and everything. We're also running Primal Prayers because we have so many creatures that are mana value 3 or less. This not only helps us cheat on mana during our turn, but once we start getting like more energy, we can flash in our creatures as much as we want, casting them for free and flashing them in as blockers, or just giving them haste by casting them on an opponent's end step. This is the cheap-ish version of this list. I usually build decks that are well under $200 so that you can actually go and like act on my recommendations soon if you want to. However, there are some honorable mentions that you should absolutely include if you just happen to have them lying around. Resourceful Defense and the Ozolith are powerhouses in this deck, obviously. I would recommend no more than 2 of this type of effect, but you can definitely slot one of them in to replace Reluctant Role Model or another protection piece. They kind of just save up your counters so that you never completely run out due to a board wipe or a bunch of removal or something like that. Techathal Inquiry Dominus is an $11 investment that will just make Tidus proliferate twice as often. I have a copy because it's my favorite mechanic, and counters always get out of hand whenever Squidward here is hovering around the table. Still trying to win with commander damage, eh, Squiddy? We'll see if that gets left in. Kids like SpongeBob still, right? I'm not old. I could also argue that Falco Spara is a source of card draw who is worth including if you have an extra $5 lying around. He's another evasive body who lets you use extra counters on your creatures and turn them into the top card of your deck if you feel like it. Agent's Toolkit used to be like dirt cheap, but now it's $6? I guess we decided that keyword counters are pretty good overall. Huh. As long as you keep getting in the goal with Tidus, this little guy can become a renewable source of Death Touch, Flying, and Shields. Hopefully this list is closer to what you were looking for when you saw Tidus at the head of a pre-constructed deck. I find it a lot more fun to play because, again, if I just wanted +1 counters, I would play mono green. It's better. I think structuring Tidus around different keywords and shields is also a lot more flavorful for his water volleyball, water rugby team. Let me know which glaring oversight I've made in the comments below, and also if you have gotten to play one of the precons from this set. They looked pretty fun. I know my playgroup has been having a lot of fun with Tidus and Y'shtola just as they are out of the box. If you want to see what I think about particularly the orcs in Final Fantasy, you should check out my Patreon, like these wonderful people here. They get an extra video every month, and they're also the reason that I'm still making these. So thank you very much for donating. I appreciate it a lot. I love you very much, and you're a valued squeaker in my eyes. And hey, thank you for watching until the end. I hope you're having a wonderful summer out there, and oh, hold on. Is my building really leaking? Oh, it's getting everywhere. Come on. Hold on. Oh, wait. No. It's the ocean out there.